The content in this video is for general educational use. It does not represent political opinions or judgments about any country, culture, or government. Information is based on publicly available sources and may be summarized or simplified. Viewers should verify details through multiple sources.
Hello, let's settle in and listen to a story. It's a very quiet story, one you might not have heard before. It's about a place and the people who live there and the rules that shape their lives.
You know, every country, every nation, it tells a story about itself. It's a story for its people, a way to explain who they are and, well, where they fit in the world.
And usually, these are happy stories. They're about being safe and protected. A story where everyone has a place and everything is taken care of. A story that just makes sense.
So let's look at one of these stories. A story about home. The official version of the story is that everything is carefully organized. Every little piece of life is guided by the state, you know, for the good of everyone.
And in this story, there are some simple ideas to live by. You have to be completely loyal to the leader, follow the socialist way of life, and always think of the group first, that collective spirit. And to help everyone stay on the right page, people join groups, associations run by the state. They're there to make sure everyone is part of the same story, together. But this is where our story starts to get a little more complicated. See, to keep everything so neat and tidy, everyone in the story gets sorted. They're given a specific place right from the very beginning.
This sorting system has a name. It's called Songbun. The word itself, in Korean, just means ingredients. It's like a recipe. It's a way to describe what a person is made of. Not just them, but their family, their history, their loyalty.
And every single person, is placed into one of these groups. At the very top, you have the special and core classes. These are the most trusted people. Then you have the basic or wavering group, and then it goes down to complex, and at the very bottom, hostile. And the strange thing is, this isn't really about you. It's about your parents, your grandparents, what they did a long, long time ago.
And it goes even deeper than that. Within those main groups, there are 51 different categories. 51! It's this incredibly detailed system for sorting people, all based on their family's past. It's like a giant filing cabinet for people's lives.
So what does this label actually mean? Well, it's more than just a word on a piece of paper. It becomes the rules of your own personal story. It's like an invisible blueprint that decides how your life is going to be built.
Because your Songbun, it can decide everything. Your job, where you're allowed to live, the kind of education you can get, even how much food you have access to, or the medical care you receive. It's the one rule that shapes all the others.
And what you end up with are two completely different worlds, living side by side. If you have a good Songbun, you might live in the capital, Pyongyang, in a nice apartment. You're protected from a lot of the country's hardships. But for most people, for the vast majority, life is very different. It's a life of shortages, of limits, of being told where you can and cannot go.
And of course, the story has to be protected. There are people who watch to make sure everyone is playing their part correctly. It's a huge network of surveillance. In fact, some people estimate that 1 out of every 20 people is part of it, watching their own neighbors, their friends, maybe even their own family.
So, that brings us to a quiet but very important question. What happens if you don't fit into the story? What if you step outside the lines that were drawn for you?
Well, for people who don't fit in, the story, it changes. The chapters turn darker. Because when the story is this important, there are ways of dealing with anyone who threatens it. Someone who managed to leave this story behind once said, "Once we are taken in, we have no power. They can fabricate non-existent crimes against you." Imagine that, a system where even made-up crimes can become real. Just like that, you can disappear.
And it's not just about you. If you're accused of a political crime, your story doesn't just end. It changes the story for your entire family, your parents, your children, even your grandchildren. For 3 whole generations, they can be punished along with you. It's called guilt by association. But the official story, the one that's told out loud, sounds very different. According to the state, the prisons are places where people are treated with warm love and consideration, a place where the leader himself takes extra care to make sure they're fed. That's the story they tell.
But pictures from space tell another story. This is a place called Political Prison Camp Number 25. It's estimated that thousands of people are held here. They never had a trial, and for most of them, there's no way out. They're simply erased from the story.
But, even the strongest, most perfect-looking story can have cracks in it. No story is completely sealed off, and in those little cracks, other stories can get in.
Even though it's incredibly dangerous, things from the outside world find their way in. A movie on a small memory stick, a radio broadcast, small things. But they tell a different story. A story about a world where things aren't so strictly controlled.
And that can be unbelievably powerful. As another person who escaped said, a single truth from the outside world can plant a seed of doubt or ignite a spark of hope. Just one little seed is all it takes to start questioning the whole story.
And that's really what we have to remember. These aren't just characters in a fairy tale. They're real people, millions of them, living inside this story, navigating these invisible rules every single day of their lives.
And for those who do get out, telling their own story becomes everything. It's an act of defiance, an act of hope. As one person put it, I want my story to prove that this hope can become a reality. They believe a different story can be written.
So the story of Songbun leaves us with a question for ourselves. What stories do we believe without ever really questioning them? It's just a thought to carry with you, to listen a little more closely to the stories we're all told, and to wonder, just for a moment, what might be written between the lines.